I went to Rye.
We're ready to go. Okay, everybody. Welcome to the Rye Town Council meeting of May 17th, 2016. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hope Klein, would you like to lead us tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage. Grant us the wisdom to make our every decision fair-minded and in the best interest for all its residents. Thank you.
I always forget that. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Lindsay Jackson.
Present.
Councilperson Thomas Nardi.
Present.
Councilperson Anthony Baxter.
Present.
Councilperson William Villanova.
Here.
And Supervisor Gary J. Zuckerman.
I'm here. We have minutes of April 19th. Has everybody read them? If so, if there are no corrections, additions, deletions, may I have a motion and a second?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Our first presentation tonight is for Independence Day, and I believe we have Ms. Hope Klein.
Good evening. Hope Klein, person of the Independence Day Committee, and this year we've asked for a donation. This is our 69th consecutive year. This year we'll be holding the Independence Day Committee festivities on Saturday night, July 9th. Due to financial restrictions, we have decided to hold it, since July 4th is on a Monday night, to hold it on Saturday after July 4th, on July 9th. We hope next year to return back to July 4th, and we did not ask for any more money, being that this has been a tumultuous year for Town of Rye, City, and Portchester Village, so forth and so on. So we are making a smaller but just as important historical celebration to talk about this country and to celebrate it. And so we are looking forward to hopefully having your donation repeated that we asked for last year, which is $2,500.
Thank you. Actually, it was 2,000. Yeah, our budget actually was for 1,500, and we're doing
$2,000?
$2,000.
It's all good.
We do have a resolution. We're going to take this out of turn. The resolution for the donation for the Independence Day Committee. Hope? Do you want to say anything? I introduced it, so
I'd like to make a motion that we donate $2,000 to the Independence Day Committee.
Second it.
call the roll, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Nardi.
Aye.
Baxter.
Yes.
Villanova.
Yes.
And Zuckerman.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very
Hope.
much.
I hope.
Thank you, and I just also want to thank the other Hope. It's very rare that you have two Hopes, so we appreciate all of your help, Hope Vespia, and we will see you all on July 9th for You're a Grand Old Flag. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Crawford Park Special Event Fundraiser, Ms. Flores.
We're here to see if we could get the permission, the request to have a soccer fundraiser in Crawford Park for September 4th and July 3rd on a Sunday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. for a nonprofit organization, Club Union Toria.
Okay, I'm confused. Is it September 4th or July 3rd?
It's both days.
This is only one day.
This is only one. This is
They-
September 4th.
Oh, I thought they had both. I sent both applications. I thought it was for both days.
Hope,
today.
did you see a second application? Well,
You did mention something about a date in July, though.
Yeah, for the 4th of July,
Oh.
the Sunday right before.
is there a problem with just,
I remember submitting, the first one was for the July, and then I was checking with the dates for September.
who did, I don't have a problem approving this for both dates, if both dates are available.
Okay, thank you.
Council members?
Yeah, just some questions. Have you held any events at Crawford Park before?
Yes,
And when?
last year.
Last year.
They had it. I'm not, he's Mr. Laborio Castillo, he's the president. I'm just his assistant, and I'm here to speak for him. But he's the president, and he's been to the soccer games and the fundraiser. He's the president of the club. So they've had it last year for, ¿cuándo fue las cosas? In September, for Labor Day weekend.
Right.
The Sunday before Labor Day.
Right, I remember one event. I don't remember two events.
I think it was just one, the September.
Okay, and what could you tell me about the event itself? You're going to have vendors there?
There's not gonna be vendors. They're gonna have food. It's gonna be soccer games. They're gonna it's a donation. It's a fundraiser to collect money for the church in Tauria in Peru. That's what they're collecting the money for, and that's basically it. They're just serving drinks and food, and people are just donating all the stuff. But there's not gonna be vendors
Okay.
where people are gonna have tents or anything selling
Nothing
stuff.
like
No,
that,
nothing
right?
like that.
All right.
Okay.
Let me just say, Billy, I think we have the application for one. I have no problem in approving for both dates, but is the payment going to be different then, full payment due? If this is only for one day, does that reflect the payment for 2 days or 1 day?
This is just one day.
This is just
That's what I
one day.
thought. Yeah,
This is just for the September 4th.
all right. So would you speak to the office tomorrow
Yes.
and make sure that the July date is available?
Okay.
All right, and you may have to make another may have to make a second application.
That's not a
Did you remember filing one application or two?
Two. I
Two.
remember filing two, because the first application I filed was for July, and then I wasn't certain on the date for
Do you
September.
do you remember what your security deposit was? Did you
It
make,
was the same thing. It's exactly the same exact thing as this.
did you make
I don't
one
know
or?
if I have it on my email.
Okay, did you make one or two security deposits?
I didn't make they told me not to make the security deposit until I came to the meeting. Because I had
Okay.
I was supposed to come to a meeting last month.
Okay, so tomorrow, speak to Brenda, okay, make sure, it may be that it was filed, but we only have a copy here.
Okay.
We may only have one copy instead of two copies here. So it may be all proper, but we just might not have the paperwork in front of us. So confirm that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
And without objection, I think we can approve both dates?
How many people do you anticipate being a part of this?
It's not going to be over, not more than 150.
That's what it's been in the
Yeah.
past? And is it rain or shine?
¿Vas a hacer, no importa si es lluvia o sol? No importa si hay lluvia? If it's raining, no, we're not going to have it.
Okay.
I have a quick question, because I know it goes all day long. Beginning at 10 a.m., is that for setup, or you'll have people there earlier, prior to 10 a.m.?
I'm sorry, hold on. ¿A las 10 de la mañana vas a ver personas jugando o solamente es para empezar a organizar todo? Como poner la comida y todo. ¿Vas a empezar los juegos? It's gonna start everything at 10.
Okay, and the 150 guests, they're going to arrive at the same
No.
time and leave at the same time, or they're
No.
coming intermittently?
Coming in and out. So it's not going to be more than 150 people at one time. It's probably going to be less than 150 people. But the maximum I would say is 150. But people are going to be coming and going. As the games finish, the people are leaving and other people are coming.
I think we should also, because there's so many people coming and going in the exits and entrances, just make sure that we have, notified for traffic reasons. because it's going to be all day. Um, and the number of cars are probably going to be around 50 at a time. There's 150 people.
¿Cuántos carros piensas que vas a hacer?
Between
¿Qué
50.
¿Cuántos carros estaba el año pasado? Más o menos, ¿sabes? Como en un momento cuando un juego, como 50, 20, 30 carros. Like 30s,
Yeah.
something like that, 30, 50.
And one quick question. Who lives at 110 North Main Street?
That's the restaurant of Pollo a la Brasa. He's the owner of Pollo a la Brasa, and he's also the president for this club.
Where does he live?
He lives at 49 Church Street, Greenwich, Connecticut, and he has a property on 96 Grace Church in Portchester.
A majority of the attendees, though, for the fundraiser are going to be from the Rye-Town area, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Further questions?
Just a point to discuss. You know, we're going to need to look at it. And this, when we take applications going forward, and I don't want to sound that I'm being difficult, but when we take applications, I believe that part of the application process is that the rental of the facility is for the residents of the town of Rye.
Correct.
Okay? So, I want to be clear on this, and I think we need to discuss this further. 'Cause it appears this gentleman lives in Greenwich. He's not a resident of the town of Rye.
Most of the
So-
participants will be obviously from Portchester, more
I
than any other
understand the
place.
part, it's different, you know, and I just want to, not that I'm a purist or anything like that, but I think it's important that if we're going to place a requirement on the application, you know, and for the most part, you know, parks and, you know, it's for the residents, right? Because their tax money are the ones that are paying for the park. So I just want to be smart about these applications going forward, and, you know.
Where is the Union, Club Union Toria, where is that based?
That's in Portchester,
Okay, and who is Christina Flores?
me. And
And
I
where-
live in Portchester.
And you live in
I live in
Portchester?
his house in 96
In-
Grace Church,
In Portchester. So that, your name is on this as well?
Yeah.
All right. So I think that satisfies it, Billy.
Again, just want to make sure that when we get the applications, that the applications are made correctly, and that we're correctly identifying the people that are making the
I
application.
don't have any problem with that, but
I had asked the person when I was going through the application, because I had questions about that, and that's the address that, because he has the business in Portchester, and I explained who it was exactly, and I told him, how do you want me to fill it out exactly?
no, you could have also put your address.
And that's why I just put
Which,
that.
110 North Main Street is the business address,
Yeah.
right? But you
But
could
you
have
could
put your
mine,
address.
96 Grace Church Street.
Yeah.
I should have.
Well, I think, you know, the community has many great nonprofit organizations. We don't necessarily want to box them out from using it, you know, to benefit the community.
And
So,
I think that what Billy's getting at, though, is we have to look at these on a case-by-case basis. And Billy's inquiry is absolutely correct, and that's why we made this inquiry, and we find that Christina, whose name is on here, is a Portchester resident, and so she fulfills the requirements of a town resident being the person who's responsible.
Can I assume that we checked the calendar and nothing else is going on, only
I'm
because they
gonna
are
say-
holiday weekends? And
I am going
they're
to
both-
suggest that, because that's, I wanted to make sure, Hope, would you put it on your diary tomorrow to double-check with Brenda? And
Will,
make sure,
but-
but both of those dates, A, are available, and B, that we have the paperwork for the July date. My guess is that we have it, we just haven't printed it.
I
for
believe
tonight.
we do have it because Christina was supposed to be at the last meeting, and you mentioned that she has to be here in order to have the July 4th
Right.
date set.
Okay,
So
good.
I remember that as well.
Right.
realize the September 4th
Okay.
was the second one.
All right, good.
Okay.
All right. So We are all in favor, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry for
Good
doing
luck.
the application wrong.
No,
It's okay, good.
Nope, that, you did fine. You did fine. Hope, let's go through the resolutions. We have the American Legion next.
Comments from the public?
Oh, I forgot. You're right. I went right down there. Comments from the public, please. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Comments from the public? Comments from the public?
Nope.
No comments from the public.
Sounds good.
Can I go on now?
Yeah, you can go on, I give you permission.
Thank you. Resolution B,
Bless you.
this is the American Legion, contribution to the American Legion for the Memorial Day Parade on May 30th.
Make a motion that we make a donation, $1,500 as budgeted.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This is the 2016 Job Readiness Training and Internship Program that we've done before. This is the one that, that Greg Arcaro puts together with Dave Thomas. Hope there is an error in the budget, the chart is reflecting the old number, not the new number.
I spoke to Greg concerning this, and he wasn't sure where he would allocate that $270 that where we were being reimbursed by the Village of Portchester. So,
But
he
we are
said-
being reimbursed, so that we're
For
budgeting this amount,
270.
but we may actually be paying less.
Right, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
better than paying more.
And I think it would be a good idea. I'm certainly in favor of the program. I think it's worthwhile, and I think it gets young people involved. I think after the summer, it would be productive to have them come back and give us a report as to what their work was over the summer and kind of get an idea of what they got out of the experience. So I would just be in favor of getting something afterwards as a takeaway.
I agree.
I support the program, but, you know, given the budget that we're looking at, I'm thinking that we can modify this budget to be a little smarter. The space rental of $500 at Carver Center, Carver Center can donate that space to us, to this program. It's not to the town of Rye. It's for the children. I'm pretty confident they could donate that space. And you know, as far as refreshments and things of that nature, you know, maybe the participants, and I know this sounds maybe a little petty or a little silly, but, you know, pack lunch at home in the morning. I know I send my kids to school. I pack lunch for them, and they have their lunch for the day. When they go to camp, they take their lunch for the day. These are older children. They can handle that. I think that's fine. And as far as the consultant fees, $2,400 for a consultant and $1,350 for a consultant. You know, do we have people working on this program here for the money or for the good of the children? So I know it's a tough question. We don't have the answer. It's rhetorical, but I'm thinking that we could possibly either have people on staff that can work with this program or possibly identify some other people that would want to volunteer some time to help the children. And I think we can reduce this. We can still support everything else in this budget, keep the stipend for the students, for the interns, support everything else that we need to do, and possibly reduce this budget by about $4,000. That's my opinion.
Anybody else?
No, I agree with Billy. I agree.
Well, the problem that I have with that is that some of this that Bill picked out in terms of refreshments, you're talking about $100. You're talking about refreshments for a closing ceremony, $150. This is a program that's been ongoing and running. and they have a way of doing it. And I'm not saying that we cannot reduce the amount of money, but I think what Bill is getting at is the cost of the consultants and also the space at Carver Center. Am I correct, Bill?
Agreed, yes.
There's nothing, if we pass this, there's nothing to say that we have to spend it, and we can carry on future conversations as to how that money is spent. Am I correct, Mr. Town Attorney? This only authorizes us to go forward. It doesn't tell us we are mandated to spend this. And I'm concerned that if we throw a monkey wrench in it now, we don't have another meeting until June, and that's when the program has to start. In fact, it has to start pretty quickly. So I'm going to suggest that we pass this as is, and then we enter into further discussions. And Billy, you are very welcome to participate and lead those discussions with the people involved as well as me.
Certainly.
Okay?
And, I think that any help that I can provide to the program to make it move forward even in the future, I'd be more than happy to give my time, volunteer,
Thank you.
to see that it goes forward in the future.
That is a great suggestion, Lindsay, and I know you would be great at that.
Yep. So,
So
like I
with
said, I
that,
would,
may I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Call the roll, Hope.
Jackson,
aye.
Nardi,
Aye.
Baxter,
Yes.
Villanova,
Yes.
and Zuckerman.
Yes. The next resolution is the RFP for architect services in Crawford Park, and that's for the Sensory Garden. This is part of our Community Development Block Grant, and I had sent all of you by email the chart that Greg Arcaro worked out, who's our grants administrator. Paul Noto, no, you weren't at that meeting, were you? No. Debbie, I, Greg, and Tom Nardi were at a meeting a couple of weeks ago with Greg going over the whole community development block grant process and the work that's involved. We decided that it would make a lot of sense to break the work down into 4 separate categories, one for the pavilion, one for the playground, one for the sensory garden, and one for the mansion / community center that we're talking about. This is the first RFP for the sensory garden. It'll require the services of a landscape architect familiar with this kind of work. The playground, we're going to go with a design-build model. There are several companies around that design playgrounds and have designers to design fully, handicap-accessible playgrounds. The third one is for the pavilion. We already have an architect, Arconics, who went through the process, the RFP process originally to get the grant. And even though the design has to be modified, we already have him on board. We're waiting for his latest engagement letter. And then the last one is for the mansion, which we've discussed and will have both the handicap accessibility and other work that is necessary to bring the mansion up to proper standards. And Tommy was very helpful in pointing out that the plumbing there probably needs substantial reworking, and we don't want to do a lot of work and then have the plumbing break. And I'm sure there needs to be a lot of electrical work, especially in the basement and possibly with risers. But that is for the architect to determine as we do the bid specifications. So we are hopeful that in addition to the sensory garden RFP being approved tonight, that the playground RFP, the pavilion engagement letter, and the mansion RFP we can hopefully approve at our June meeting. And I look forward to that. So with that as a background, may I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Tom Nardi,
Yes.
Anthony Baxter,
Yes.
William Villanova,
Yes.
and Gary Zuckerman.
Yes. The next is a resolution for surplus equipment inventory. Background. In order for the town to, I hate to use the word rid itself, but to eliminate equipment that it no longer needs, we have to declare it surplus. So we had an inventory taken of equipment no longer needed, both in the office, and you can see some computer towers, et cetera, and at Crawford Park, which, a lot of which is from the fact that we no longer have a park staff, and we have no use for this equipment, and so we hope to sell it. Not give it away, but sell it, so that we can get some money for the town.
We plan on auctioning it, or?
I don't think, we don't have to, we can auction it, right, Paul? We can auction it, or we can sell it.
You can auction it, you can, not everybody would be interested, you can sell it,
Yeah, gardeners may want to buy it,
I know the
you can advertise it.
sure.
I know the county goes through eBay, I think, for some of their surplus.
Yeah, we could do eBay, we could put a
Tag
notice
sale?
in the, right. Only if you stand there tagging all the
Cows,
items.
we can put it on the front lawn.
All right, so just a quick bit of background. We've done this before with inventory. Obviously, we were, I want to say, a little bit more successful because we had better quality items that we divested because of our downsizing of staffing. But I'm looking at this list here, and I'm thinking, some of these items here would probably be well-served down at Rytown Park.
Yes.
Bolt cutters, a generator, traffic marking carts. These are items that, the staff is, we have 6 to 8 maintenance personnel down at Rytown Park. And it just seems like some of this are items.
I think there was one item that is going to Rytown Park
Okay.
that they did want. I think
right.
the staff was apprised of this.
Okay,
And they'll have, and we don't have to sell it to them, correct, Paul?
no.
No.
And that
So-
being said, the two computer towers, I suggest that they are destroyed. We don't know what is on those towers. I suggest they're destroyed and not sold.
No, we wouldn't sell those, but we can't destroy them either. The law is we cannot destroy them. We have to, we cannot destroy them before we declare them surplus. They can be declared
Take the hard
surplus.
drives out. Take the
They
hard
could be
drives out.
declared surplus and then destroyed. They could be declared surplus and then sold.
Right.
What about just taking the hard drives out?
Just declaring them surplus
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
resolution.
this resolution only declares them surplus and gives us the authority to auction, to sell, or otherwise dispose of.
Because I'm looking at the list here and I'm thinking some of the stuff like windshield washer fluid, it's probably open and parts of it are used. I don't think anyone.
Well, no, it's, if you got, but, I know it sounds silly, but, if you got 5 gallons of windshield washer fluid, we still have vehicles that the town of Rye, Rytown Park are operating. So these are items here that they should be used. This is,
Wash and wax.
even though that this is the list,
Barrel.
I would strongly suggest that George Hogman take a second look at this list and not necessarily just give
Well, I think that George, as a caretaker, certainly doesn't have a use for it. That's why it's on here. If Rytown Park has a use for it, I think they've been given copies, and they certainly can take advantage of any of the items that they need to. So, doesn't mean that we're going out to sell these. It means we can do with this what we want. It no longer is of use to the town of Rye. That's what the point is.
Understood.
Okay, a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second it.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Baxter,
Yes.
Villanova,
Yes.
Zuckerman.
Yes. Okay, reports. The assessor is not here this evening. Paul and I spoke to her. She has no report at this particular time. Crawford Park, I believe I mentioned Crawford Park tonight. I think that's sufficient at this point. Finance, Dave, do you have anything? If nothing? Okay, the town clerk has submitted her report. Anything to add?
The only thing, I'd like to mention that we're having the municipal shredder come to our office again on June 16th.
Great,
And I urge all the offices to get anything that could be disposed of.
terrific. Superintendent of Highways is not here, but he advises us via email that the bridge is supposed to be painted shortly,
I think the starting date, I think, is the 24th
of May.
of May, yes.
May, yeah.
And
Okay.
that's the South Barry Otter Creek Bridge?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, and while Nick is making his way up, I saved the best for last, Mr. Mecca.
Yes, save the best for last. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, honorable members of the Town Council, Nicholas Mecca, receiver of taxes. I just wanted to alert everyone, first of all, yesterday we mailed out over 550 notices for delinquent taxes, people who have not paid the county and town. So it's my custom, 2 weeks after the close of collection, to mail out a notice. And I suggest that everybody work on that because very shortly you're going to get your village bills. Rybrook is a yellow bill and Portchester is a white bill. Hopefully these will go out June 1st, barring any problems. So get the old stuff out of the way before you have to deal with the new stuff. Okay? Any questions for me?
No, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mecca.
you. Thank you.
Just to backtrack on the Superintendent of Highways report, I know Lindsay has something, and I have something as well.
I mean, I guess I wish the superintendent of highways was here because I know that there's still an ongoing issue with the Hillside Avenue Bridge and that work does need to be done on that in the near future. It says discussions between the three municipalities. It's a little complex. It involves the town of Mamaroneck, the village of Mamaroneck, and the town of Rye. I just wish we sort of had more of a timeline on that.
All right, I can tell you with the Hillside Avenue Bridge, the town of, Village of Mamaroneck is the one who's going to be running that, okay? And that was when their front loader went through the sidewalk.
Yes.
So that I know is in their, that's basically in their court. And my thing is, now he's let the Village of Mamaroneck know about the work schedule. He's also going to let the Coast Guard know the work schedule, even though it's
About
not.
South Barry Avenue, right?
That's
No,
the South Barry, that's over Otter Creek.
Otter Creek.
That's one that are gonna paint.
Right.
He also has to let the Coast Guard know, even though it's not a passable bridge, you're supposed to let them know on any time you do any work on any of the bridges. So whether Tom Oneman lets them know, or he lets them know.
Before you go,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hope, with Debbie, by the way, I made an earlier announcement at the Rytown Parks Commission meeting. Our Chief of Staff Confidential Secretary, Debbie Reisner, is not with us this evening because she's attending her daughter's graduation from Johns Hopkins University, and she's also being inducted into the Phi Beta Kappa Society. So congratulations to Debbie and her whole family. I normally would ask Debbie to do this, but can you communicate with Tom Oneman tomorrow and ask him to make sure that the Coast Guard is notified about the bridge painting?
I spoke to John Dickinson quite a bit also.
Okay. Yeah, but he's not here now, so, I mean, I don't,
I'll give Tom
Okay.
a call.
okay, thanks, Hope.
Yeah, because there was issues with that bridge in the past, so, with the Coast Guard, so I don't want to see any other issues go on with it.
I agree.
With regards to the bridges and with regards to the position of the superintendent of highways, we've seen over the years, the position of the superintendent of highways become more important as we've taken on these projects. And I think that we're probably going to need to have a couple meetings, make sure that John is at these meetings, because it kind of seems what I'm experiencing, and I don't know if you're feeling the same way, is that we get information once a month, we come with our questions, we ask the questions, we get the response, and then we're asking our questions the next month. So essentially, we're having 12 mini conversations throughout the year regarding the bridges, and I think it needs to be a little bit more of a complete conversation. We need to maybe make sure that the superintendent of highways is leading this process, or if not leading the process, is maybe a little bit more engaged with communication with us. I agree with the concerns that Councilman Nardi and Councilwoman Jackson have with regards to the information. We don't want to let anything slip by.
Well, and I just see, because, the infrastructure is sort of aging. I know Short Street Bridge, which is right near my house. I walk my dog on that bridge every day. It's from 1932, I want to say. So
That's a new bridge.
yeah, exactly. So we, as these things arise more often, unfortunately, with the aging infrastructure, I think there needs to be a little more hands-on.
Well, I know with the Hillside Avenue Bridge, Mamaroneck wants to replace the whole bridge, and they want to widen it, I believe, from the last time we had a discussion.
I think we're going to have an intermunicipal discussion on this, and with council present, and determine a way forward on all of these.
Yeah. Well, like
As far as the highway superintendent, that's a personnel issue that I think we need to discuss.
Well, the one issue I would say, especially with the Hillside Avenue Bridge, is that anytime you damage a bridge, or there's damage to concrete or whatever, the longer it sits. I'm not an engineer. I know Councilman Nardi has more of experience with this, but the
He
longer
has a lot of experience because he's the former highway superintendent.
Yes, exactly. But the longer it sits, sort of,
Yeah.
the worse it gets.
Well, actually, the bridge itself wasn't damaged, it was just the sidewalk. But the bridge is ancient,
Yeah.
and yes, it as it is exposed, it does create more problems.
No, I think that a conversation needs to be held between the town of Rye, the village of Mamaroneck, and the town of Mamaroneck to go over all the bridges that we are responsible for, and determine a course of action over the next couple of years going forward in terms of repair, maintenance, new construction possibly, and who's responsible and who's going to pay for it. So, one thing we don't want is for a fire apparatus to be going over a bridge and having it fall into a creek. That's the one thing we do not want to see. So,
And I would appreciate being part of that discussion. I think we should have a
Absolutely.
long-term plan laid out for these
well,
measures.
you're the Rhinebeck representative, so.
But I would also suggest, like we have other department heads here at meetings, that the superintendent of highways should be here to answer these questions. So,
No, I agree.
I would impress upon him, like Mr. Byrne and Mr. Mecca, if this is the proper forum where we
Yes,
ask questions.
all of our
So I would ex-
department heads and elected officials come to our meetings unless they're excused.
Right.
So that's a discussion that we can have. But as it's a personnel discussion, I would prefer not to have it in public. Okay? Any other comments from our council people? If not, on our agenda is an
Could I make
executive.
one suggestion?
Sure.
The last two meetings have started after the start time, the published start time on the agenda, because the Rye Town Park Commission meeting had gone late. And my concern is that sometimes we have people here who are presenting, and I'm conscious of everybody's time. So perhaps we want to look at an 8 o'clock start time if you anticipate that the Rye-Town Park Commission meetings are going to go longer.
I'm anticipating that they're going to go shorter in the future.
Okay.
I think that we have overcome some issues that were rather contentious, and I'm hoping that our Rye-Town Park Commission meetings will be shorter in the future.
So we can look at that going forward if that,
Yes,
if that is something
absolutely,
that we have
yes.
to amend, but I'm just conscious of people's time.
Yes.
I agree with that sentiment, and I've always been a big stickler of delaying meetings, because other meetings are running long, but more importantly, changing meetings because people can't make it. So I'm a firm believer. I believe in the time too, and especially because if not only me, but if you're rushing out of work or taking care of your family and leaving to get to a meeting and then sitting around for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, that's it's rough, But I guess we're on comments from the council people. Earlier, the Rye-Town Park Commission meeting was being had, and there were, and one of the commissioners, made a comment questioning whether or not the roof repair over at the administration building at Rye-Town Park was, a smart decision or the right decision. So for the record, I think it's important for the public to know that the repair to the roof was the roof on the main building, but it was also a repair to the roof on the bathrooms as well. And the importance of that is if we did the repair to the roof, we have an option to do something in the future. If we never made that repair, we would have no options in the future. In addition to that, some of the other repairs were undoing improper repairs that happened previously, and I do think that that we need to make a decision of what we're going to do at Rye-Town Park. The other comment was made with regards to Rye-Town Park and the buildings, whether or not there was the interest or the willingness to invest money in Rye-Town Park. The town of Rye, prior to me coming on the board, so that's 11, 12 years ago, and then to the time that I've been on the board and Mr. Nari's been on the board, the town of Rye has always been willing to invest money in the park. It has always been the city of Rye that has been the municipality that has held up borrowing and looking to make a decision to invest in the park. So I think that that's important to know, and we do need to invest. And I know that the town of Rye is willing and able, and I still have great confidence in Supervisor Zuckerman that he's going to pull the Rye-Town Park Commission together and get a good plan in place with Rye-Town Park. So thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Bill. And further, let me respond to Bill. The answer to that is yes, and I made that announcement at the Rye-Town Park Commission meeting that we do have a capital plan that was initiated at first by architect Linda Easton. That was preparatory, looking at the administration building. But then subsequently, Councilman Bob Nioris set forth a capital plan for both Rye-Town Park and Crawford Park that is going to be the basis of our views going forward and how we can accomplish those purposes. And in fact, as far as Crawford Park is concerned, that capital plan will be folded into the Community Development Block Grant Program so that all of the needs of that building will be taken care of at one time with a single contract, hopefully. So getting back to Rye-Town Park, Bill, I agree with you. We have a plan and we need the will to make it work.
Oh, and one other thing with regards to Rye-Town Park, and the reason why I didn't speak at the Rye-Town Park meeting is because I just wanted to get that meeting over so we can get to this one. But with regards to the ramp has been a discussion for quite some time, and the staff has done, I want to say, a fair job trying to make that ramp a little bit more safe and usable, using the rubber matting and things of that nature. But what I do suggest is, let's not overthink that project. We've heard some incredible numbers when it came to the
Are you
proposed-
talking about the number of about $370,000?
Exactly.
To just
Right.
replace the ramp?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that was a little high.
Right. So what I'm seeing there, and again, in keeping with what is there already, we can build it. We can bring a form together. We can identify the proper slope that we need. We can place an architectural design on it, railings and things of that nature. And pour an industrial concrete ramp there. There is concrete that could be used that can withstand the weather and water. They're using it over, rebuilding the Tappan Zee Bridge right now. And I think that may be the quickest, easiest, and most economical decision to provide handicap access to the beach.
No, that's what we're looking to do. That's why Dolph Rotfeld was retained, to get us a design. Can't build without a design. So that's the first step. I know, I look back at previous minutes, and this question about the ramp at the beach has been going on since at least 2012.
Yes.
And it's not a safe situation, and it's an inconvenient situation. So hopefully, this time we'll get it done, and get it done right. Lindsay, you were going to say something?
Yes, I mean, my concern as far as improvements made to Rytown Park or the lack thereof is that we have been seeing more severe weather events taking place in our region, and I think we're really missing the boat by not working on making improvements that are going to strengthen the park in the event that we have another, hurricane or powerful storm come through. I'm really concerned that, we're one storm away from losing a lot of our infrastructure there, and I think it needs to be looked at. I'm more than willing to work with the commissioners there and lend a hand with anything they need as far as that, but weatherization and strengthening the infrastructure is paramount to the park's
Thank you. Tom?
well-being.
Yeah, I agree with Lindsay. And on the lighter note, I'd just like to thank Hope for the glasses that match my tie, because I forgot my reading glasses at home.
Tony?
No?
Nothing? Okay. And I don't have it. I've said what I had to say about Rytown Park, about Crawford Park, et cetera. I'd like a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
So moved.
Second it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we do not expect to come back.